This is a short note on the product rule and its relation to the quotient rule. Recently I was watching a video on the internet where the product rule was introduced with the green term here preceding the red term in the sum. In fact, I have a calculus book that's about 15 or 20 years old, Calculus, a Contemporary Approach by James F. Hurley, that also introduces a product rule with the green term preceding the red term in the sum. Now, we are free, if we like, to take the green term before the red term in the product rule. Either way, and we'll end up with the same result for the product rule. However, if you notice in the quotient rule, we have exactly the same two terms. The only difference is that in the quotient rule, or in the numerator, I should say, of the quotient rule, we have a subtraction, and we're not free to reverse the terms. So I'd argue, and I believe in most of the calculus books I've seen, they usually introduce a product rule in this form here. This is the red term precedes the green term. This way, once we have this memorized with the red term preceding the green term, this one form will also be exactly the same form that we use in the numerator of the quotient rule. All we have to do is change it to a minus sign. So I think it's a lot easier to remember this one form rather than have to remember this form and then this other form. I think it's more complicated to remember that you got to swap these two terms rather than we just have to put in a minus sign. In fact, all I ever do is I remember f prime. Okay? Then I remember f prime, f for first, if you will, first prime, and then I've got the rest of it, because you know it's going to be, if once you know it's f prime, you know it's got to be the f prime, and it's got to be the original function of the second one, g of x, plus f of x, g prime of x. There you go. So all I remember is f prime, first prime, if you will, and that works for both of them. Anyway, this is not a major issue, but I think it makes it a little easier to remember if you just have one form as opposed to two or several forms to have to remember.